Hello, America. Welcome to the Junto Podcast, where we promote the practical applications of critical thinking and bold creativity. I am your host, Edgar Mills. Thanks for joining us. Hello, America. Welcome to episode 25, where we're going to talk today about the value of life. Yeah, and where do you derive your value from? I don't know, man. It's getting more and more gray out there every day. And yep, the recent events, the violence that we've seen recently is very disturbing for many people. It was disturbing for me. I mean, I'm not cold to the whole thing. I understand. I see what's going on. But I'm going to look at the value of life from some different perspectives. One, we're going to look at some of the more Stoic philosophy. If you guys listen to me and read my stuff, I reference the Stoics a lot. I think there's a lot of wisdom there. And then we're going to look at it from kind of libertarian ideals. I also reference libertarian ideals a lot. And then we're going to look at it from my own perspective, using some of my blogs, some of the things I write, and even some of the things we talk about on here. But I think I write a little more eloquently than I speak. And I think there's some good stuff in there that we need to revisit. So the value of life, it has to be aligned with some kind of virtue, right? And reason. And I'm going to use this word reason throughout here today. And it's sometimes that bothers some people when you talk about reason, which I don't really understand that, but there's a lot of emotion-driven stuff going on out there. But let's talk the value of life. It's got to start with some kind of virtue. You got to have some kind of value system, and you got to have some kind of reason to apply that value to things. We need to feed our soul, and I'm not sure if the soul is strictly a religious construct. I don't go into too much depth on all these other various religions, or even agnostics, or even atheists. Do you believe in the concept of a soul even? I don't know. But our soul needs to be nourished, and our soul needs to seek out wisdom. We need justice in the world. We should have courage, and we should have temperance, and those things, among some others, depending on your belief system. But those things across all belief systems that is what kind of gives life worth. Our search for meaning, right? And things like that, our search for meaning, and our search to discover our own value and our place, in society. What is our worth? What does it all mean? So every rational human walking this planet is deserving of a base level of respect, kind of regardless of any internal or external circumstances. Now, people do things that degrade that deserving of respect, for sure. But right now, just for this argument, right this moment, we're talking about rational humans who do not violate other people. Now, life's value is kind of grounded in, from the libertarian perspective, life's value is kind of grounded in self-ownership, individuality, you being the best person you can be. And then one of the biggest principles that you will find within the libertarian ideals or platform is the non-aggression principle. Life, everyone has a fundamental, foundational right to life, liberty, and property. But first is life, right? You can't have anything else without having life. And based on those things, every individual, it says in our Constitution, all men are created equal. Every individual has an equal value through natural rights. By virtue of being born, you have a natural set of rights. Now, some of you are going to carry on about, well, no human's illegal and things like that. We have circumstances, and we'll apply those. Does everyone have a right just to be on American soil? Well, that's a more nuanced argument. We're talking about the value of life today. No illegal alien who's a rational, illegal just here illegally, that's not a death sentence, is it? So they still have the right to life. They do have a right to liberty and property, but that's within the construct of each nation, isn't it? Each nation. I'm not just saying America, I'm saying other nations too. So anyway, I don't know how I jumped on immigration real quick, but that's just a hot topic these days. The libertarian, we do not initiate force on other people. We voluntarily cooperate with other people. We have a right to associate with who we choose. This is how you achieve a high trust society, by treating everybody with a baseline respect. And I'm not saying believe the same way, folks. There's going to be vastly different points of view. There always have been, there always will be. Unfortunately, they always have led to violence, and they apparently still do. We haven't become more civilized, have we? We've amassed a bunch of regulations and laws, but we haven't really become more civilized because we still see barbaric shit going on all the time. From my perspective, good people, like I said, I write blogs. I've written one called Respect for Human Life. Again, it goes back to a baseline respect. Everyone deserves a baseline of respect. Now, people can lose that respect, no doubt. But at what point does that degradation of respect equal, oh, it's okay to murder that person? At what point? Think about that for a minute. Never mind your group. Never mind your tribe. Never mind your activist associations. If you individually were walking down the street and saw someone who you knew that you disagreed with, would you just walk up and murder that person? Okay, if you could get away with it, would you? Yeah, everybody has a fear of consequences. That's why I said we've not become more civilized. We've just amassed more laws. And people have a fear of consequences to a degree. If you could get away with murder, would you? And look, good people, I've had this conversation with close people, close friends of mine. If you could get away with deleting someone or a group of whoever, one, would you be able to live with yourself, right? That's what I'm getting at. Would you be able to, do you lack the, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, compassion or empathy, that you would just be able to murder someone in cold blood? And then, furthermore, would it have an effect? Would it have the desired effect, or would just more people pop up in support of? Now, oftentimes, and this goes for terrorism, this goes for a lot of things. You take one guy out, two guys pop up in his place. So is your idea of murder for the good of society, whatever you think that good is that going to solve the problem? Or are you just happy enough destroying one life and taking, well, multiple lives, but taking one person off the planet and leaving his children fatherless? That's good enough for you? Is that what you desire? That's not in line with Stoic philosophies for sure, the libertarian ideals for sure, and definitely not mine. I did a podcast on the high trust society, and I discussed that America is no longer really, our numbers are considerably lower. I can tell you right now, trust in the government is at an all-time low. And that's fine. Who needs to trust the government anyway? F those guys. But we need to be able to trust each other, good people. And I'll draw a silly little analogy. It's small. We got a joke. My son and I have a joke that if you obey traffic signals, well, here's the scenario. It's the middle of the night, 2 a.m. You're in the middle of Kansas, so everything's flat. You can see for miles in all directions. And you come to a crossroads with a red light. And there's not a vehicle coming. There's nothing out there. It's just you and the darkness and the grass or the wheat fields or whatever, or the goddamn Wind turbines. Do you stop at the red light and wait for it to turn green? And we say if you do, you're a statist. Just go through the red light. All right. Now let's do another scenario. You're in downtown Atlanta at 12:30 in the afternoon, and you're trying to drive to lunch for whatever reason you would decide to do that. And there's a red light in front of the, on Peachtree and 10th. Do you run the red light or do you wait for the damn red light? So the traffic signals, they're not a statist measure of control. Well, traffic cameras are for sure. But traffic signals and stop signs and yield signs and things like that, they're not a tool of the state to control you, to say when and how you can drive necessarily. They are a communication tool. And everybody in our society who's rational and has some kind of baseline respect for other humans, they obey the traffic signals because that's what everyone expects. Now, you don't have to bend to everyone's expectation of you, but that's just a baseline. Hey, if I don't stop at this red light, I may run over somebody crossing the road, or I may get T-boned by a goddamn T-Mobile, salesman. So it's communication, and it's nonverbal communication. It's written sometimes, but sometimes all our signs, they have different meanings. Sometimes they're written. The stop sign says stop right on it. But we all know, we all take a test and we all learn that basic communication. And generally speaking, we all abide by that basic communication. Now, that said, when you get on I-75 and you got some dude driving 53 miles per hour in the left lane, that's an a-hole move. Or you got people zipping in and out of traffic because they think whatever they're doing is more important than what you're doing. But when you're dealing with traffic signals and things, yeah, it's a form of communication. And it's a common form of communication that we all understand. So we all, generally speaking, abide by that. I'd say most of us use our turn signals or our indicators when we change lanes or when we're going to turn. Now, many of us don't. And that's an asshole move. You're not communicating with the rest of the world. You're just being selfish and arrogant. Or just mindless, whatever it is. Whatever reason you're doing that. Now, that makes me irate inwardly, right? Inside my vehicle, that's where I vent and I rage. But I'm not going to get out of the car and murder someone because they're doing a stupid, stupid thing. Yeah. So what about murder? What about cold-blooded murder in contrast to justified killing? Is there justified killing? Yeah. I've said it a million times and I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. Some people on this planet need killing, but it's not someone's just speaking their mind. It's not just someone of a different religion than mine who speaks with heavy rhetoric. Who is someone I dislike immensely that I think is a friggin' clown? Well, younger Louis Farrakhan. Yeah, I thought that guy was a menace to society. I never once thought, man, if someone takes out Louis Farrakhan, the world will be a better place. It probably would be a better place to a degree, but his wife and kids probably wouldn't think that. His family wouldn't think that, you see. I have the ability to go one step further and go, oh yeah, this has an effect that is beyond just my line of thinking. The Stoics believe that murder, for whatever reason, passion, or just a perceived injustice, that it corrupts the soul and it disrupts and violates the kind of universal order of things. Yeah. It corrupts the soul. It creates a darkness in the soul. And to celebrate that creates a darkness in the soul. I don't care who you are or what your belief system is, or what your frickin' pronouns are, or what your frickin' Sunday rituals or Saturday rituals are, as long as they don't hurt anyone else. It puts a hole in your soul. Even justified killing. So, had someone comment on a thing I wrote, and they equated, well, if it's not okay, to the degree, I'm paraphrasing big style here, but if it's not okay to celebrate the death of a political opponent like like Charlie Kirk, for instance, then it shouldn't be okay to celebrate the death of someone like Che Guevara, for instance. Now, I do a match every October called No Che Day on the anniversary of when Che Guevara got killed. Well, let's talk about justified killing a little bit. Let's talk about war and incursions and acts of soldiers versus, just individual civilians walking the streets every day. Che Guevara, for instance, was a murderer. He was a racist and homophobic, if you want to get into modern parlance, and he was a ruthless murderer. Ruthless murderer. He deserved to die, and he died on a battlefield. That's what soldiers do. Now, celebrating it, me saying, yeah, the world's a better place that he's dead, is not me relishing in the loss of a life. It's me relishing in the degradation of the spread of communism. And I don't care what you think about, and I'm not going to go around murdering someone who's an American Communist Party member, but it's a murderous philosophy. It, by default, depends on death and suffering, and that's a fact. You can disregard history all you like. It's still a fact. So, yeah, you can't compare the murder of a innocent person. Now, we'll get to this in a minute about words being violence. Self-defense, folks. Self-defense is justified. In the moment, it's justified. Now, 3 days later, and I'll point out what's the guy's name, Plache or something like that, in the 80s, a kid had been raped by a man who got arrested, and the marshals, I think, were transferring this guy, and it was in the airport, and this guy, I want to say his name was Gary Plache, he was waiting by a bank of payphones. And for all you younger people, that payphones are hardline telephones that used to exist out in the wild, where you would put change inside the machine and then you would be able to make a phone call. Yeah, it was a weird thing. Anyway, every airport, every bus station, everybody had a whole big, huge bank of payphones. And this fellow waited, and as they walked this rapist by, dad murdered him. The father of the kid that got raped murdered the rapist. And this was after trial and everything like that. He was seeking vengeance for sure. Arguably, the question is, was justice done? Well, arguably, the guy was convicted, so arguably justice was done. But that wasn't enough. The dad's emotions were guiding that vengeance. Now, conservatives usually applaud that. Liberals usually say, well, that's not right. But it's funny how the reverse is true here now. So we lack, and this is in general and most things, we lack any consistency in our belief systems around here these days. We lack any consistency in our belief systems because they've been so fragmented, and we don't know the foundations of our belief systems. So a thing that feels good to us is good, and a thing that feels good to our enemy is bad, no matter what. And then if the tables turn, well, hypocrisy is not a thing anymore. Yeah, it's garbage. It's bullshit. Justified killing. Was that guy justified in killing the rapist? Well, he received a pretty light sentence over that. Yeah, he received a pretty light sentence, I think. And I want to say something like community service, something like that, because everybody could kind of understand where he was coming from. Well, I don't know about everybody. I guess pedophiles were like, oh my God, this is egregious. Is it acceptable behavior to rape a child? It's not, right? So was that justified or not? It's hard to say. I had a conversation with a guy, and this guy runs a podcast that kind of leans pretty significantly left when it comes to things like this. Big supporter of the trans and gay community and things like that. which is normally considered leftist politics, if you want to throw politics into it. And we kind of had a disagreement over this whole Luigi Mangione situation. So, and we drew in a comparison with the Plache, the guy who murdered his son's rapist, and then the Mangione thing where Mangione murdered a CEO of a health insurance company, United, I think, or something. And so what happened there is the comparison is a man physically raped another man's son. That was very demonstrable damage and pain and things like that. And then on the other hand, we have a CEO that nobody likes because he's a CEO of a big corporation, and corporation-y things are bad. And who knows if the guy who got murdered, was he a good human or not? I don't know. Well, he denied claims. Well, every fucking insurance company on the planet denies claims all the time. That's a part of the business. Is it right, wrong, or otherwise? No, it's not right that insurance companies can choose to deny whatever based on whatever loophole, right? That's garbage, but that's a systematic problem. Did the CEO, who was a father and husband, deserve to be murdered? Well, this guy that I was telling you who runs the other podcast thought so. A vast number of his listeners and a significant number of American citizens out there, they lionized young Luigi for literal assassination, cold-blooded assassination. Walked up to the back, behind this guy and put bullets in his head. From behind even, yeah. And he was lionized for that and celebrated. And then people shit-talked the guy who got killed. Whether that guy was a piece of shit or not, whether Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit or not, and arguably whether or not the rapist, who was a demonstrated piece of shit, physically harmed someone else. Were those murders okay? Well, if you say one was and another wasn't, you got a problem. Yep, you got a problem. You're inconsistent in your process and your belief system. It's inconsistent. It's only based on emotion. Consistency matters, good people. It matters in all things. It matters in shooting. It matters in parenting. Yeah, it matters in all things. Consistency means your friends and society in general can trust you to not conform, but to be a member of a high trust society. I don't have to worry about sitting in front of you on a bus. Yeah. Well, that guy, that murderer who killed the Ukrainian girl, Ariana, he was consistent, but he was consistently dangerous. Yet politics and ideology allowed that guy to walk the streets long past times where he should have been locked away. Whether he had a mental problem or not, that's a systematic issue. That's a system issue. That's not an individual issue. That girl is just as dead, whether that dude had mental issues or whether he was just an angry guy or racist or a gangster just trying to earn whatever. I want you people to understand this. Motive, the only time motive matters is when being sentenced in court. The rest of the time, it's irrelevant. If someone approaches me in a dark alley with a knife in their hand, I don't care if his daddy loved him or not. I don't care if he's on 6 different kind of behavioral meds. It's irrelevant. I'm going to be just as dead if he stabs me. Do you see the difference there? Motive matters after the fact. The preemptive piece of this is not to go murder people you don't like, but I'm talking about self-defense right now. I'm talking about justified killing. Yeah, you don't have time to assess motive when somebody's trying to kill you. Yep, you don't. Motive don't matter until sentencing. Now, in sentencing, once they're in the system, and a judge looks at motive, then does become an issue, right? Well, what was this guy's motive who killed the girl in Charlotte? Well, the left is saying, well, he was mentally ill. He had issues. Okay, fair enough. But he did the crime, right? There's no question about that. The crime was done. It's on video. So does his motive mean that he gets to go walk free like here in a couple of few weeks? Now, I've heard they've already moved that guy from jail to a hospital, to a mental facility. Well, unless it's a facility for criminally insane people, he's going to get diagnosed, he's going to get some meds, and he's going to go free. And then guess what? It'll happen again. This will be the 15th time probably he'll be set free. Now, I'm just predicting. I don't know that. So the systemic issues are within the government-operated systems, because they don't either they don't distribute justice equally. The ones who carry on about injustice, they don't distribute justice equally. They do it with a bias. Yeah, they do it with a bias. There's justified killing, folks. There is. And I wrote to, and I think the night or the next day after the Charlie Kirk murder, I wrote a blog and I put out a thing on Facebook, and I said this, and I've said this before, and it's, folks, I can't explain this to you any better than this. If I can be on a declared battlefield in a declared war, and an Afghan or Pakistani or friggin' whoever is trying to kill me and shooting at me, and I kill that person, and inside my heart, I have a brief moment of pain, of I can't even call it pain, sorrow, because that person is somebody's son for sure, very likely somebody's father. And other than our simple belief system, and other than the fact that the U.S. has horrible foreign policy, I otherwise wouldn't have been standing, at the border of Pakistan. I still mourn the loss of life. Terrorists or no terrorists, it's a loss of life. Now, if you're a tough guy and you're one of these thick-neck freedom fighters, and you're a pussy. Well, maybe. I'm not. I mean, I've done plenty of combat, and I've gotten in plenty of bar fights, and I've done all the tough guy things. But even still, the loss of life is to be regarded for a moment and considered, and even grieved just a little bit, whatever the circumstances were. And maybe I am a pussy. Maybe I'm just getting too soft in my old age. But check this out. I don't like watching videos on YouTube or whatever the social medias when these dudes that like to climb the skyscrapers and do their selfies up on the top, and then because they're idiots, they fall to their death. I don't laugh at that. I don't think that's entertaining, and I don't watch it. I just know they're out there, and I've seen a couple because I usually scroll social media with the volume off. I'm just getting visual input until I find a cool truck or motorcycle, or some curvy lady or something. Or I don't even listen with the volume on. I just scroll through looking for the things that are going to catch my attention that I can follow up on, i.e. philosophers, i.e. good art. So yeah, so when I see people get hurt and like proper damaged, it makes me feel bad, man. And I'm not a better person than anybody because of that. I'm just telling you, my soul is intact, and if your soul is intact, then you should grieve a little. You should regret that someone has been damaged or dead, regardless of your freaking political identity. Identity politics is killing us, good people. Identity politics is killing us. Because politics in general, whether it's all over the place. It's like a friggin' virus. And it squeezes its way because of the politicians, by the way, and the activists who are all in. It squeezes its way into all aspects of life. And then what happens is one side of the aisle, well, one side particular likes to manipulate words and change definitions and make things so words become violence. And then they convince the masses, their followers, that this person said this thing, therefore that person wants to commit violence against you, even though it never happened physically. Now you've got a mass of people walking around thinking every time someone says something contrary to their belief, that is a form of violence. And then what that does is that form of violence to them justifies self-defense. Well, not just verbal self-defense, but physical self-defense. And all I'll say about that is that if you cannot win on the battlefield of ideas and you resort to violence when no one has initiated violence on you, you're just a criminal or just a political whatever the friggin' definition. So I noticed, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's the hard left that likes to manipulate definitions. Well, guess what the hard right does? They manipulate definitions too. And so now everything for the near future, everything is going to be political terrorism. Yeah. And they're going to use political terrorism to probably violate the rights of many people in response. So congratulations on getting a response, because if there's anything we know about the current administration is that there will be an overcorrection. Not a subtle correction, but an overcorrection. And all that's going to do is further divide. And then we're just going to be further and further and further divided. Yep. And oh, by the way, in the wake of the Kirk murder, they again in Congress shot down the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, while all the mourning and all that stuff was going on. There's always a political angle, folks. Always. Don't buy the bullshit. Don't believe the hype. Be a free thinker. If you don't like Christian people, don't listen to Christian people. If you're on a college campus that's most likely extremely liberal, don't go to a rally for young conservatives. Well, it's American to protest. Yeah, it is. For sure it is. But it's un-American to assassinate your opponents, your political opponents, your ideological opponents. That's un-American, and I'll stand by it. I don't care what the CIA does. They don't qualify. They don't qualify as American. Non-aggression principle, that's a libertarian ideal. Everybody has a right to life. Nobody has, with the exception of physical self-defense, no one has the right to initiate force on anyone else. Now, if you're one of these protesters, counter-protesters, and you like to push the limits, right? You like to get up in somebody's face without touching them. That you're provoking violence by doing that. And you know you are, but then you're holding your hands back like, oh, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. It's like a brother and sister when he puts his finger right up to her face, but she's not touching her, but her finger's right there. You people, you emotionally immature humans who do things like that, knowing good and well it provokes. And so now you're just testing the limits of someone's patience. You're not making a political statement at all. You're just being a child testing the limits. Why push someone to their limits? Because look, check this out. There's guys walking the earth right now. I'm one of them. And I know, look, my whole circle of friends, all of my former teammates, if you did a thing like that, where you walked up and got face to face and started spewing and your spittle was getting on my face, yeah, you would catch it, and you would catch a beating, a proper beating. Yeah. There's still grown men out there. I think it was Mike Tyson that said people getting too comfortable talking shit on the internet because they've never been punched in the face. Well, I'm not promoting violence, folks. I'm just telling you, you provoke violence and you'll get violence. Now, all the lefties right now listen to this are going to say, yes, Charlie Kirk provoked violence. No, he didn't. Listen, do yourself a little experiment and go back and listen to actual, speeches that the guy makes. He's been demonized, and he's a good target. But the Saul Alinsky rules for radicals apply. He was pointed. He was isolated. He was used as a target. Yeah, that was it. The Saul Alinsky's rule for radicals. I don't promote the book. I'm just telling you, it's a good idea to know what the tactics are. He didn't promote violence, folks, and neither did the young Ukrainian girl on the Charlotte light rail. She didn't provoke violence. Neither did the CEO of United. He didn't provoke violence. And what about the child rapist? Did he provoke violence? Well, that's arguable. He violated a non-aggression principle for sure. It's a violation of non-aggression principle to rape a little boy. Yeah. And it's arguable that your son is an extension of you. If anybody did any damage to my children or grandchildren, yeah, I'd be in jail for sure. I would go destroy everybody involved on a rampage, like proper. Yeah. Hyperbole drives people to that, folks. Hyperbole drives, if you're one of these weak body people that you like to use ideology as your strength because you're not strong, that's fine. Don't get in anyone's face. Use your ideology. Stand on ideals. Argue your case in a rational way. At some point, here's what happens when you do that. Rational people on the left and right, when you just stand on your ideals and you argue your case, at some point you just agree to disagree. Well, we have different value systems. I believe this, you believe that. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine. Have a nice day. That's it, folks. Oh, that's so boring. That's so boring. I don't get to dress up and go be indignant in public and destroy things and act a fool and let out all my primal aggressions in this ritual of play pretend. Ethics, folks. We need to get back to having some solid ethics, whatever the foundation is. Mine are founded in Christianity. My ethics and my values are founded in Christianity. But check it out. People often call out the contradiction that I follow Ayn Rand and the philosophy of objectivism. Well, I've done a blog on it, juxtaposing objectivism to Christianity. And guess what? The values hold. The only difference there is in the philosophy of objectivity. You demand some kind of tangible proof of a thing, whereas in Christianity, it's based on faith. But all the other values hold, people. They all hold. Now, Christianity, you do things in it for altruistic reasons. And in objectivity, you do things for sort of rational self-interest, with the outcome being that if I do things for my rational self-interest, I will then be of value to the people around me. Whereas as a Christian, you do things for altruistic reasons. Well, I need to be a good person so I can go to heaven, which, by the way, don't get you to heaven. You have to acknowledge and accept Jesus Christ. But besides that, you do the deeds because people need help. You get the same desired outcome both ways. It's just how you get to it. Where do you derive your values from? If you don't believe in God, where do you derive your values from? If you don't believe in rational self-interest, if you just believe in pushing your agenda and you think it's okay to kill people who oppose your agenda, well, shit. Isn't that fascism? Yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. Oh, man, hyperbole, folks, it's getting us. The extremes is getting us. Unchecked emotions. Seneca said unchecked emotions were brief madness. Brief madness. Yeah. And I've seen this in action plenty of times. Hell, I've gone off on violent tirades before, and it was madness because you can't think rationally. You're so angry, or you're so distraught, or you're so sad, so much so that it leads you to this outburst of whatever. Well, allowing that to carry on and then accepting that, and then that's how that distorts your ability to reason. And that's how people are able to be radicalized so easily from the left and the right, because they don't have control of their own emotions. Someone else will come along and take control of them for you and guide those to their own ends. There's books written about that, folks. That's what case officers do. Yeah, case officers do that. And your 3-letter agencies out there that we love the government so much. You got 3-letter agencies out there identifying people who have unchecked emotions and who are easily radicalized because they don't have the ability to reason for themselves. Yeah. Brief madness turns into long-term madness, which turns into the ability to be manipulated for extreme ends. Yeah, there's books on how to do that, how to manipulate people. Manuals, I'm saying. Government manuals, folks. It's not just a couple of bad apples in the basket. It's doctrine, how to do that. We have to master our own emotions. That's what separates us from the animals and the barbarians. That's what separates us from the savages, is the ability to control our own emotions and to think rationally through even very heated problems. These unchecked emotions they are the protein for coercive ideologies. And communism, folks, I will say, is built on envy. Yeah, it's built on envy. And that shit undermines your individual agency. Your inability to control your emotions undermines your individual agency. Yeah. And these agencies who are not only putting out the propaganda, not only fueling the fires of hatred between the various political factions, collectivist ideology does this. This political collectivism where we're right and everything we do is virtuous, no matter what it is, and they're wrong and everything they do is dangerous and evil. You say that shit enough and you believe it. Next thing you know, murder is just okay. And people celebrate it like a bunch of soulless savages. Let's see. Yeah, none of this is in line with libertarian ideals. Freedom of association, freedom of speech. Good people, this is all leading down the road to put government controls on our freedom of speech. That's what's going on, and it's going to be in the name of our safety. Yeah, that's what they always do. For your safety, they're going to save us from ourselves, folks. Watch and see. And then when you one of these radicalized leftist groups, and next thing you know, law of unintended consequences is going to take over. Next thing you know, we got laws restricting your freedom of speech, because right now it's in your favor, but pretty soon it won't be. And then when it's not in your favor, it's in no one's favor, folks. I said this: you believe in all freedom of speech, or you believe in no freedom of speech. Words are not violence. Now, there's nuance there, folks. If I on this podcast go out and tell you, hey, if you're this group of people, go out today and do violence against this group of people. That, folks, is violent. That's inciting violence. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, everybody tried to hem Donald Trump up for that, right? For the January 6th thing. So many questions around that. However, yeah, the left was perfectly happy on that. When Donald Trump's inciting violence. I've heard Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters literally make threats. Yeah. Of course, the right gets a little bit in uproar, but nobody starts talking about restricting freedom of speech, generally speaking. No, that's not true. The hardcore right-wing conservatives, they're happy to restrict freedom of speech, as long as it's not their speech. Folks, the same thing, it comes back to this all the time. Imagine the worst law you can imagine, how it would affect you. Or imagine the thing you want to do to your political enemies, and you want to make it law. But then imagine that power be in the hands of the other guy. There's a lack of... Folks, there's second and third and fourth order effects. Anything you do, it's not in isolation, good people. It is not in isolation. It has effects. It has effects on your immediate family, your immediate friends, your immediate situation. But then that shit's going to come back to bite you, and it'll bite you hard. And then you're going to be poopy because this wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah. Non-aggression principle, freedom of speech, freedom of association. Let's try to live that way. I encourage you guys to read my blogs. I did one called I Hate Mankind, but I Love Man. What does that mean? That was a weird thing because I originally put that out as I love mankind, but I hate people. And then I had to think about that for a while. I hate mankind because mankind puts us into a big group, and the collective never makes the best decisions, folks. The collective never makes the best decisions. The individual makes the best decisions for themselves. Yeah. In a collective, we demonize the others, whoever the others are. And then we throw all these negative vibes and emotions out there. And there's plenty of cultural factors involved here. But those can be easily remedied, folks. We don't have to resort to violence to live in harmony or even agree to disagree with these cultural things that are going on. Because politics is a cultural thing. But a good red flag is if it said something to invoke emotion, extreme emotion, it's probably not good. It's probably not good. Look at all your critical thinking, your critical thinking card deck there, and figure out, is this an emotional plea or is it rooted with fact? It's just, is it facts being delivered kind of emotionally because people are emotional, or is it a flaming of emotions with the subterfuge of a fact? Around here, folks, at the Junto podcast, we're all about self-improvement and by improving yourself, improving your community. And yes, success. If we can be successful, we can help other people to be successful. And we can do this rationally. We can be emotional about a thing. I'm emotional about my range. Yeah, I had a very positive meeting yesterday, folks. A very positive meeting yesterday. And I was happy. I was noticeably happy when I came home, and my wife said, "Oh, that must have been a positive meeting." I said, "Yes, it was." Yeah. We're emotional. We have emotions. I'm not telling you to suppress your emotions. I'm telling you to check your emotions and think with logic and act on your logic. Don't act on your emotions, folks. Even in your own marriage, even in your daily life, even with your children, don't act on the emotion. Unless it's to give your grandkid a big old hug. That's nice. But don't act on your anger. Give it a minute. Give it a few minutes. Sometimes you might have to sleep on a thing. And then you get up and make a rational decision about how to go forward. It's just critical thinking, folks. It's just common sense. It's just a lot of things. Get off your SSRIs. Get off of your mind-altering medications for a minute. And some of you may need it. I don't know. I'm not very much for medications, but go take some THC gummies. Chill the fuck out. Be a person who contributes to a high-trust society so that we can all live without having to look over our shoulder. Yeah. Be a person, right, left, or otherwise, whatever your politics is. I encourage you to drop your politics down about 2 notches on your list of priorities. And I would also encourage a lot of you out there to knock your sexuality down a couple of notches on your list of priorities. Build your identity around a broad scope of who you are, not one single point. And if you're living your life like that, you need to get out and get some hobbies. Venture out a little bit, do something different. Be well-rounded. Identity politics and building your identity on one aspect of your life. I can't remember who said it, but it is I think it fits right here. Now, he was talking in context of skills, but he said, Damn, I wish I knew who said. He said, specialization is for bugs. Humans, everybody, should be well-rounded and have a little bit of experience in a lot of things. Now, he was referring to skill, but I refer to culture. Keyholing yourself or pigeonholing yourself into one identity and one way of life, and all things that don't support that are your enemy, is bad, 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 bad. Now, I say I'm a Christian, and I am, but I use foul language pretty regularly. It's ingrained in me. It's military life. Now, I'm not going to blame military life. It's not the excuse. It's it's a reason, but I don't. Yeah, I know people that think, okay, they make effort not to use bad language. I don't think it's that important. But I have Christians that come out and shoot with me. They know I use bad language. Bad language is opposed to their Christianity, generally speaking. But they come out here to learn how to shoot guns, not to make sure that I fit their version of whatever they believe I should be, right? You come out here and learn how to shoot guns. If I drop a F-bomb here and there, or if I get a little passionate talking about some bullcrap CQB techniques or whatever, yeah, they take it and roll with it. And I make an effort to not use bad language when I have, well, specifically women, but also Christians, definitely children. I will watch my words because children are a high priority for me. Adults are not. If you can't take me saying a bad word because it seems distasteful, well, wait till you hear my transsexual midget jokes. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, folks, specialization is for bugs. Don't be a bug. Venture out. Open your mind. Experience other things. Live your life, not that you're either my friend or my enemy, but that you are something I can learn from. And look at everybody that way. I can learn something here from this person. It may be a negative thing, it may be a positive thing, but you can learn from everyone and every situation and everything, every culture. You can learn something and take it and process it and then drive on. Everything's not a extreme position. Everything is not an attack on your lifestyle. Everything is not an attack on your position. Process information at face value. Don't read into your own biases into it. Just process it at face value. That's it, and that's all, folks. That's all I'm going to say on this. I felt compelled to say something about the value of life. And I'm sure 99% of you out there value life, and maybe not 99. I know people that don't. There's psychopaths walking the street, I know this. But you should value life, good people. Value life. Open your mind. It's not you either support me 100% or you're my enemy. That's not the way we do business. That is not the way we do business, good people. Open your mind. Don't be a bug. All right. Thanks for listening. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Be good to each other. Have good manners. Go make a friend today. Be safe.